She walked away thinking you'd crumble, that you'd check her story, text her back, wait for her breadcrumbs. But what she didn't expect was this. You turned your back too, not in rage, not in pain, but in power. And now she doesn't just remember you, she replays you. She doesn't miss the old you, she obsesses over the man you became without her. Comment, unforgettable now, if you're done begging to be remembered and ready to be etched into her psyche for life. This video is not about games, it's about power, internal, quiet, earned. We're talking about stoicism, discipline, presence, about the man who doesn't chase because he builds something worth being chased for. Most men suffer in silence after a breakup, waiting to be remembered while slowly forgetting themselves. That ends today. Before we dive into the brutal truths, I've created something rare, the Stoic Relationship Blueprint ebook for men. It's not for everyone. It's for the few men who are ready to stop reacting and start leading. This isn't some surface-level dating gimmick. It's philosophy, it's principles, it's the blueprint for emotional control, relationships, and self-respect. It's now available to the public, but only for a short time. This knowledge will not remain open forever. If you're ready to live above the chaos, comment Stoic Blueprint right now and claim your copy before it's gone. If you feel like you gave everything and got crumbs in return, this is your moment. We're diving deep into the exact traits and ways that make her never forget you. Not for a week, not until she finds someone else, but for the rest of her life. And more than that, this is how you never forget who you are. Number 1, silence alone isn't enough. You think if you just go quiet, she'll come running. You think if you vanish from her phone screen, she'll start typing your name again. That if you stop reaching out, she'll finally realize your worth. But understand this, disappearing is only half the job. She doesn't remember you because you stop talking. She remembers you when everything about your life starts to reflect what you refused to become when she was in it. When your body transforms because the pain became fuel. When your days fill with plans, not pain. When your nights are quiet, not from emptiness, but because you're too focused on building something real. This is when she feels your absence. Not because you were quiet, but because the man she knew no longer exists. She looks back and sees a memory, but you're no longer a memory. You're a force. You're a fire that's now out of reach. She doesn't remember the texts, or the jokes, or the little things you did to make her smile. She remembers the shift. She remembers when you stopped being available, not because you were playing games, but because your life became too real to be part of hers. She watches from afar now, not because she's proud of you, but because she's afraid to admit she gave up on someone who finally figured it out. She didn't expect you to rise. She expected you to break, to spiral, to sit by the phone and hope. But when you didn't, when you rose instead of reached, that's when the silence changed. It became weight. It became a question in her mind every night before she falls asleep. What if he really moved on? What if I was wrong? That's what haunts her. Not the lack of contact, but the undeniable growth. That's the sound that keeps her up. The noise isn't your voice, it's your evolution. And the truth is, you were never really gone. You just became someone she no longer has access to. And that's the kind of presence no one forgets. But you must choose what this quiet means. You must decide what kind of man emerges from it. If you sit in the dark, hoping she notices, you become a shadow. But if you walk into the light and rebuild from the ground up, you become something she can't unsee. And more than that, you become someone who doesn't care if she does. This is not about hurting her. This is about finally respecting yourself. This is about turning the pain into presence, the hurt into hunger, the longing into legacy. She might come back, or she might not. But either way, when you use this season to evolve, she'll remember you. Not because you tried to be remembered, but because you became unforgettable. There is no begging in strength, no waiting in purpose. You don't check your phone for a message. You check your progress for evidence. Because the only question you should be asking isn't, will she come back? But am I someone she can no longer reach? And when the answer is yes, that's when you've won. That's when the silence isn't absence, it's a declaration. That's when your name becomes more than a memory. It becomes the mark she can never erase, and you didn't need to say a word to do it. Number 2, why she actually left. She didn't walk away because you made one mistake. She didn't vanish because of that one argument or the day you forgot her birthday. Those are just surface-level excuses. She left because you stopped being the man she looked up to. Somewhere along the way, she stopped seeing the leader, the visionary, the grounded force that made her feel safe. And she started seeing a man who waited for direction, validation, permission. You didn't fall short because you weren't enough. You fell short because you made her your everything while forgetting you were something. And that imbalance, when she became your focus instead of your addition, was the beginning of the end. She didn't leave because you failed to love her. She left because you stopped loving the man you were becoming. You stopped evolving. You stopped chasing your mission. You turned your attention from your path and gave it all to her. And that, no matter how romantic it sounds, is not what she truly wanted. She wanted to follow a man who had somewhere to go. And when you turned around and made her the destination, you killed the journey. Women don't leave ambition. They leave indecision. They leave weakness disguised as sweetness. They leave comfort when it comes without strength. They leave softness when it no longer has structure. You thought being kind was enough. You thought being available was the answer. But what she craved wasn't your compliments. It was your certainty. She wanted to feel like you knew where you were going, and that if she followed, she'd become more because of it. But when she saw you hesitate, when you started asking her what she wanted instead of deciding what you wanted and inviting her along, that's when she knew. That's when the dynamic shifted. And this isn't to say she's innocent. Maybe she tested you. Maybe she disrespected you. Maybe she stopped showing up in the way she used to. But ask yourself, when did that start? Was it when you let things slide to keep the peace? Was it when you started seeking her approval instead of keeping your standards? Was it when you gave her the power to dictate the pace of the relationship, thinking that if you just did everything right, she'd stay? That's not leadership. That's desperation dressed up as devotion, and she felt it. And once she did, she couldn't unfeel it. That's when the attraction dies. That's when admiration turns into obligation. That's when she starts pulling away, not because she doesn't care, but because she no longer sees a man worth following. And the only way back from that isn't through texts or flowers or long messages explaining how much you love her. It's through action, through transformation, through becoming the man she thought you were when she met you, and more. Not for her, but for yourself. Because the moment she left wasn't when she walked out the door. It was when you stopped walking through your own. So start again, not to win her back, but to win back your edge. Get your body in order, get your money in order, get your values in order, and stop giving women the pen to write your story. She left because you handed her the script. Take it back. Write the next chapter so boldly, so powerfully, so unapologetically, that she won't just remember you, she'll realize she never really knew you at all. And that's when the regret begins. That's when the questions start. But by then, you won't need the answers, because you'll be too busy becoming the man you were always meant to be. Number 3, detach, don't react. When you see her face pop up on your feed again, dressed differently, talking to someone new, acting like she's completely fine without you, your instinct might scream to act, to comment, to text, to remind her who you are. But that's not power. That's panic, dressed as passion. And that's exactly what she expects. She expects the emotional spiral, the weak reach out, the inevitable late night "I miss you," because she's seen it before. Not just from you, but from every man who didn't understand what it meant to truly detach. Real detachment isn't pretending to not care. It's becoming so aligned with your future that you no longer have space in your mind to react to her past. You don't detach by blocking. You detach by building. You don't detach by ignoring her stories. You detach by rewriting your own. And if you really think about it, every time you react, every time you fall into the trap of responding to her bait, whether it's her showing off, being seen with someone else, or acting brand new, you give away a little more of the power you're supposed to be reclaiming. She's not testing your feelings, she's testing your evolution. Can you see her move on, and instead of crumbling, go harder? Can you hear about her new life, and still remain loyal to the version of you that's being shaped through the pressure? That's the measure. That's detachment. Because reacting means you're still emotionally invested in the outcome she controls. Detaching means you've transferred that investment into outcomes only you control. Your discipline, your growth, your vision. And the truth is, she doesn't want you to detach. Not really. Because the moment you stop reacting, she starts wondering. When you vanish not with bitterness, but with progress, you force a reflection that no confrontation ever could. You take away the validation she was counting on and replace it with questions that echo. Why isn't he reaching out? Why does he look better? Why is his life moving faster without me than it did with me? These are the thoughts that don't just replay, they embed. Not because you said anything, but because you didn't. Because you didn't fight to prove you're still worth it. You proved it by making yourself unreachable. But detachment isn't numbness. It's focus. It's not coldness. It's clarity. You detach so you can feel again. But this time, not for her, for you. You were drained. You were distracted. You were living in reaction. Now, you're living in intention. Every step you take from here forward must be a declaration that your time, your energy, and your peace can no longer be interrupted by someone who walked away from them in the first place. Your energy is not a donation. Your focus is not for rent. When you truly detach, you don't just stop reacting, you stop caring whether she sees you or not. Because now, you see yourself. And that vision is far too powerful to be derailed by a woman who couldn't handle the man you were becoming. Remember, she walked away from the old you. Make sure the new you is someone she'd never have the chance to meet. That is detachment. Not silence, not blocking, but becoming too dialed in to turn around. That's the kind of distance that doesn't just separate people. It rewrites the entire dynamic. And it only begins when you finally stop reacting and start rising. Number 4, the power of presence in absence. There's a reason she still checks your profile. A reason she brings up your name months later. A reason your name comes up in her conversations, even when she's pretending to have moved on. It's not because you texted. It's not because you begged. It's because you left a presence so powerful it outlasted your physical proximity. You see, most men think being around is how you get remembered. They try harder, they show up more, they send gifts, write notes, do everything to stay visible. But the real power, it's what lingers when you're gone. The way you carried yourself, the way you made her feel, not with compliments, but with confidence. Not with flowers, but with the way you held your frame, even when things got uncomfortable. The way you challenged her to grow, made her uncomfortable in the best way, not by controlling her, but by standing firmly in your own path. And when you're gone, it's not the jokes she remembers. It's the standard. It's the energy that can't be mimicked. Because while the next guy might say the same things, he doesn't say them the same way. Because you had direction. You had fire, you had purpose. And now she feels the void, not because you stopped talking, but because your energy is irreplaceable. That's presence. And it doesn't fade, it lingers, it haunts, and it makes every comparison fall short. But here's the secret. Your presence only becomes powerful when it's rooted in progress. If you disappear and stay the same, you become a memory. But if you disappear and evolve, you become a ghost that speaks without words. Every update she sees is a reminder. Every improvement you make is an echo of who you were and who you're becoming. And it makes her question. It makes her remember, not just the good times, but what she gave up, the potential she didn't wait for, the vision she didn't believe in. And those realizations don't come when you talk. They come in your absence, when her reality falls short of what she had with you, not because you were perfect, but because you were progressing. Presence isn't loud, it's felt. It's what makes her pause before replying to someone new. It's what makes her compare every interaction to the way you made her think, grow, doubt herself in a way that made her better. And now that you're gone, she realizes most men want her attention, but very few ever challenged her to become more. And you didn't do it for her. You did it because you were already moving that way. She was just lucky enough to walk beside it for a while. That's the kind of presence that can't be replaced. That's why, even in your absence, you're still the loudest voice in the room. That's why her friends still ask about you. Why she still pauses when your name is mentioned. Why every man after you is chasing a shadow he can't touch. Because you didn't just love her. You showed her what it felt like to be around someone becoming something. And now that she's with someone who's comfortable, she realizes how rare it is to be with someone on a mission. That's what you leave behind. Not heartbreak, not drama, but a standard that echoes louder the further away you get. And one day, she'll be sitting next to someone else, laughing at something that doesn't quite hit, and your face will flash in her mind. Not because you tried to be remembered, but because your presence made it impossible to forget. That's not by accident, that's design. And the blueprint is simple. Become so undeniable, your absence speaks louder than your presence ever did. Number 5, rebuilding your frame. When she left, it wasn't just the end of the relationship. It was the collapse of a structure you never realized was already weak. The truth is, most men only begin to understand their frame once it's been shattered. And what is your frame? It's not your height, your job, your bank balance. It's the internal architecture that holds your world together. It's the values you refuse to compromise. It's the routine you follow even when no one's watching. It's the discipline you don't negotiate with. When you rebuild your frame, you're not just trying to look strong. You're actually becoming strong. Because you can't fake consistency. You can't lie to the weights. You can't pretend your goals are intact when your schedule is chaos. She might have been your mirror, but now you need to become your own measure. Ask yourself, what does your day look like without her? Are you sleeping in or waking with purpose? Are you scrolling through memories or scripting your future? The man you want to become isn't built from memories or regrets. He's built from habit. That means writing down your values and refusing to betray them for temporary comfort. It means going to bed earlier, reading deeper, lifting heavier, focusing longer. It means eliminating distractions, not because they're bad, but because they delay the greatness you know you're capable of. Your frame is how you move through the world. It's how you handle disrespect without becoming disrespectful. It's how you speak without needing to shout. It's how you lead without needing applause. When you walk into a room, do people feel order or chaos? Do they sense that you know who you are? Or do they see a man still trying to find something to anchor to? Your frame is what keeps your identity intact when life rips comfort away from you. And rebuilding it starts with brutal honesty. Where are you weak? Where do you fold? Where do you lie to yourself? These aren't attacks, they're foundations. You're not breaking down, you're finally getting the blueprint right. Maybe she left because you had no direction. Maybe she walked because you asked her what to do instead of telling her where you were headed. That's over now. Your frame must be so solid, no woman, no loss, no fear, no temptation can tilt it. It must be built brick by brick with your actions, your beliefs, your rituals. And when that frame is set, everything changes. People speak to you differently. Opportunities appear. Your walk becomes clearer, not because the world changed, but because your structure stopped bending to it. She might see you again, but she won't recognize you. Not because you're faking progress, but because the man she remembers was still forming. And now you're finished being flexible for people who couldn't carry your weight. You're done shrinking your voice to be liked. You're done compromising your time for temporary validation. From now on, every decision you make must support your structure. Every room you enter, every word you speak, every hour you use, it either builds you or it breaks you. No in between. Rebuilding your frame means you stop adjusting your standards to accommodate someone else's insecurities. You become immovable, not in arrogance, but in principle. Because when your frame is right, she doesn't just remember who you were. She realizes she never knew what you were capable of. And by then, you won't care if she notices, because your life will be full, not of pain, but of purpose. That's what rebuilding your frame really means, and that's what makes you unforgettable. Number 6. Become the man she can't replace. There's a kind of man she never forgets. It's not the one who begged, not the one who promised change, not the one who cried over messages left on read. It's the one who disappeared from her life and reappeared in his own. Sharper, quieter, more focused, untouchable. The kind of man whose name is no longer saved in her phone, but is carved into her memory because she knows he's not coming back. And even if he did, he's no longer available for the same terms. Becoming the man she can't replace isn't about looks or lines. It's about energy. It's about becoming so deliberate with your actions, so consistent in your standards, so intentional with your time, that the version of you she once knew starts to dissolve. And in its place stands a figure so commanding, she can't even recognize where she lost access. You don't become that man by getting revenge. You don't become him by trying to make her jealous. You become him by becoming someone so complete, you no longer need her presence to feel whole. Think about that. Most men crumble trying to get noticed. You rise by becoming rare. Not by acting mysterious, but by becoming uncommon. Every day, most men waste hours, scrolling, watching, wondering. You invest every hour. You learn skills. You deepen your mind. You refine your body. You build your business. You serve others. You lead your circle. And without even trying, your name becomes a reference point for everything she now realizes she undervalued. She tells her friends she's over you. But her new man can feel the weight of your memory every time she compares his passion to your purpose. Because you never begged, you built. And what you built became so evident, so compelling, so dominant. She realized too late that she never believed in you enough when it mattered. That's the pain that lingers, not the breakup, the miscalculation. She thought you were done growing. She thought you peaked with her. But you were just beginning. And every time she sees your name, every time she hears your success, every time she feels the energy of your evolution, she's reminded, not because you're trying to remind her, but because you became undeniable. That's what it means to be irreplaceable. It's not about being better than the next man. It's about being so deeply rooted in your own power that no one can replicate the combination of drive, wisdom, discipline, and depth that you've cultivated. You were never meant to be her boyfriend. You were meant to be her lesson. the standard that haunts every shallow connection she settles for afterward. And once you embrace that role, everything shifts. You don't chase love, you attract it. You don't explain your value, you live it. You don't argue about your worth, you embody it. That's the path now. No more trying to fix what broke. Focus on becoming the kind of man who doesn't break. The kind of man who can be counted on, who leads himself and others, who turns pain into fuel and failure into wisdom. The kind of man who doesn't just move on, he ascends. And when you become that man, it's not just her who can't replace you. It's the world that starts making space for you. Because rare things don't chase attention, they attract it. And you're no longer chasing love. You're becoming the love that others remember long after it's gone. That's your power now. That's your legacy. Be the man she can't replace. Not to win her back, but to finally become the man you never again have to lose yourself for. Number 7. Replace her with purpose. When she left, you thought the emptiness was about her. The quiet nights, the long thoughts, the hunger for connection. You thought it was her absence that hurt. But the truth is, it wasn't her body, or her laugh, or her touch that left a hole. It was your purpose you forgot to nurture. You placed your entire identity into a relationship that was never designed to carry your soul. And when it collapsed, you mistook the fallout for heartbreak. But what broke was your sense of direction, your grip on meaning, your daily reason to rise. And the only way to reclaim that? Replace her with purpose, not a rebound, not a new fling, not distractions dressed up as healing. Real purpose. That thing that makes you wake before the alarm, not because you have to, but because you're hungry to move. That fire inside your gut that doesn't die when you're tired, doesn't fade when you're alone. It sharpens, it grows, and every man needs it, not as a comfort, but as a calling. You don't forget her by finding someone else. You forget her by finding yourself, and not the broken you trying to fix things, not the boy still hoping for closure, the man with a mission too big to fail. Purpose doesn't just replace her, it erases the need to be seen by her. Because once you're building something real, your body, your business, your mind, your vision, you stop asking who left and start focusing on what's next. You become addicted to progress. You crave silence because it's where you plan. You love the grind because it makes you strong. And eventually the memories stop mattering. Not because they're gone, but because you're too far ahead for them to keep up. She becomes a chapter, but you become the author. And every page you write is one more reason why you'll never return to who you were when she left. This is what men are built for. Not to be orbiting around love like a lost planet, but to blaze forward like a comet, burning through excuses and expectations. Build your schedule with such precision that you forget to check your phone. Design your day with such intention that sleep becomes a strategy, not an escape. Set your standards so high that most people can't understand you, and that's fine, because they're not supposed to. You're not here to be understood. You're here to become undeniable. Replace her with a gym session that leaves your arms shaking and your confidence soaring. Replace her with books that sharpen your mind, with habits that harden your will. Replace her with brothers who push you to be better, with systems that make you sharper, with commitments that turn you into a man she never thought you'd become. Not because you want her back, but because you finally realize she was just the signal, the interruption, the wake-up call. You don't chase love anymore. You chase impact. You chase greatness. You chase the version of you who's out there already winning, already moving, already living the life you dreamed of. And you meet him every day you choose purpose over comfort. That's the real replacement. That's the real revenge. Not a new girl, a new gear. Not her approval, your ascension. She had your time. Now it's time for something bigger. And when she sees you again, she won't recognize the eyes, the walk, the weight in your presence. because you replaced her with something eternal, something no one can take, something that builds empires and changes generations. That's purpose. And once you have it, no woman becomes the center of your world again, because your world is finally centered. And that is the day you stop being someone who was left and start becoming someone who can never be forgotten. You've been lied to, told to wait, to hope, to soften yourself into someone she might come back for. But that version of you, he's already gone. And what's rising in his place is a man with a blueprint, not for getting her back, but for getting himself back. If you felt lost, betrayed, confused about what she really wanted, this is your moment. You don't need another text, you need a plan. And that's why the Stoic Relationship Blueprint ebook for men exists. Not to help you play games, but to help you play life better. To become a man so rooted in purpose, discipline, and clarity that no woman ever defines your worth again. This isn't a feel-good fantasy. It's a brutal, freeing truth that will save you years of confusion and regret. And it's linked in the comments now. If you're ready to reclaim your identity and never chase a woman again, comment the Stoic Blueprint below right now. Smash that like button to push this truth into the hands of more men, and subscribe. Because the world doesn't need more approval-seeking boys. It needs focused men who walk away from weakness and choose to build something unforgettable.